Hello, everybody. My name is Vladimir Boginski, and I'm a professor of industrial engineering and management systems at UCF. And I'm going to briefly talk about my research. And the general title here is network science and engineering, and more specifically, mathematical modeling and optimization aspects. To give a brief introduction about myself. And basically, the summary of my academic career and accomplishments. So I got my Ph.D. in industrial and systems engineering from the University of Florida in Gainesville, and my background is in operations research, combinatorial optimization, graph theory, and I'm using it now in the context of network science and data analytics and related areas. So I am interested in both theory and applications of network science, and of course, it's a very interdisciplinary area, so I have a lot of interest in interdisciplinary collaboration. So prior to coming to UCF, I worked as an assistant professor at the University of Florida at the satellite campus called University of Florida Reef, which is located in Shalimar, Florida, close to Eglin Air Force Base. And after that, I joined UCF in 2015. So I've been here for about 5 years, and I have been working on several sponsored projects. I'm currently a PI on Air Force sponsored basic research projects here at UCF. And I also had previous funding from NSF, Department of Energy, and also DITRA, which is Defense Threat Reduction Agency. So I had a Young Investigator Award with them at the past. So I was recently selected actually by U.S. National Academy of Engineering as one of U.S. participants, about 30 U.S. participants, to represent the U.S. in the Japan-America Frontiers of Engineering Symposium, which was actually, a invitation-only, selective event. So that took place in Japan in 2018, and most recently, I have received UCF Research Incentive Award, earlier this year. So please feel free, to visit my website, and also this is faculty showcase website, for College of Engineering. So please feel free to visit those websites to learn more about my research. When I went to that symposium, Frontiers of Engineering, in Japan in 2018, basically I had to come up with one slide that represents my research, to a broad audience. So, and this is actually the slide that I used there. And basically, my research is on networks, and networks are literally everywhere. We can talk about complex systems, physical or virtual, and big data applications. So basically, there are a lot of application domains. They're really abundant and diverse. So networks are truly everywhere. Okay, and in a network in general, we try to represent how elements of a system or data set are connected and interact with each other. So it's a very broad area, and a lot of interesting mathematical and engineering tools can be used in network analysis. So my area, I call network science and engineering, and basically here I would distinguish so-called descriptive versus prescriptive modeling. So in descriptive modeling, we try to reveal some connectivity patterns, that characterize a certain, complex system or data set. Now, in prescriptive modeling, we don't just look at the patterns, but also we try to optimize certain properties of network systems, such as, let's say, properties that characterize, systems resilience or vulnerability towards, so with respect to some, natural or man-made failures, all right, of network components. So broad questions that we address in our research. Basically, we look at these four broad questions, which basically deal with finding, let's say, well-connected clusters or communities in the network, and also designing well-connected networks that can guarantee certain resilience properties, such as, let's say, backup connections, like here in this communication network. In this little example here, you can see that basically you can remove any node from the network, any communication device here, and you still can have backup connectivity. Not only for every two nodes can be reachable from each other, but also they can be reachable through a short path with small number of intermediaries, which is also a good thing. So that's one example of such approaches. And also, what are the critical elements of a network that are responsible for its integrity or vulnerability? So in this picture, you can look at an illustration of such problem. So these red nodes, let's say if you delete them, the whole network falls apart. So these are the types of questions we are trying to answer. And the most importantly, can we solve this problem to optimality? So can we solve this problem to optimality? Basically, not just see what's going on in the system, but also to prescribe optimally which network elements need to be, let's say, either disrupted, or on the other hand, say from a network protection perspective, like which network elements need to be especially well protected and things like that. So I have done some work in different applications of network science, and here I listed basically some of the applications. Social networks, like social media networks, for example. Also networks of materials, which is probably less obvious application in terms of modern network, but still it is possible to do. Networks of rivers, one of the recent work I have done with actually civil engineering department here at UCF. So a lot of interesting applications of network science can be found. So one project I have is sponsored by the Air Force Research Lab. It's a basic research project where basically we are looking at these questions on can we guarantee certain levels of failure or attack tolerance of networks such as subject to multiple possibly uncertain failures of nodes or links. Can we also effectively disrupt the functionality of the network so that the links or nodes are disrupted in an optimal fashion? And again, from another perspective, say if we know which nodes are, make the network the most vulnerable, maybe they need to be protected more to make the network more robust, more resilient, right? So these types of questions can be looked at, from these different perspectives. And this is a large-scale effort. We have more than 4.5 million funding for this effort for multiple years. And there are a lot of problems that we are dealing with there. And basically, we have kind of a synthesis of methodological work and applications in networks such as communication networks, interdependent construction networks, and so on. So we don't deal with any data sets that are not in public domain. So all the data sets we deal with are publicly available, and basically all such application-based studies that where we try to apply our work on real-world data sets. So all of them are based on publicly available data sets and can be published in peer-reviewed outlets in open access. So anybody can look at this data and results. So now one type of problems here is detecting critical or key elements of a network, right? So that's one broad class of problems that we address here. And from a big picture perspective, so we can look at this main question. given a graph, let's say a network, what are the most important nodes or edges or links, all right, in this network. We can look at both from so-called negative versus a positive perspective. So from a negative perspective, basically what happens to the network cohesiveness if nodes or edges are removed, all right? So, and then from a positive perspective, we can look at basically how well are the nodes or links embedded into a network structure, such as basically to see, you know, which nodes are most centrally located in the network and things like that, all right? So, and yeah, we can look at the problems both from a perspective of functional network defeat and also functional network robustness and resilience. So depending on, you know, whether you're looking to, you know, disrupt or protect the network, all right? So there are a lot of real world applications in, let's say, communication networks and transportation, power grids, social networks, biological networks, actually, and also river networks, as I mentioned in the previous slide. So a lot of applications of these techniques that, you know, can be done, you know, in real world settings. So now, if we move on from like standalone to interdependent networks, right? So interdependent networks are basically, you know, two or more networks, say network layers that are interconnected somehow. So in this picture, I think illustrates this concept quite well. So yeah, the source here is you know, listed actually, you know, from 2001. So for the past couple of decades already, you know, there has been a lot of work and attention, you know, to study not just networks from standalone perspective, but also from interdependent perspective, all right? And for example, you know, electric power networks and telecommunication networks like SCADA networks, they are naturally, you know, interdependent, you know, interconnected, and there may be certain, you know, cascading failure mechanisms that, you know, may cause large-scale blackouts, and that happened actually multiple times, and it has been, you know, well documented. So we build mathematical models that try to understand, you know, and also try to prevent such cascading failures to an extent. And of course, you know, to develop a mathematical model, you need to make some assumptions, and we here model cascading failures using these two types of interdependence. So I think the names are pretty much self-explanatory: one-to-many versus many-to-one. And the good news is that actually these two types can be combined within even the same interdependent network. So it doesn't have to be just type 1 or just type 2. They can be mixed with each other. And also what we did is we extended the critical element detection models that I, you know, talked about in the previous slide to the framework of interdependent networks. So basically, I don't have the mathematical details here, but I have these 3 papers that actually, you know, deal with mathematical framework for both, you know, modeling and optimization. And here the last paper deals with actually here from 2020, just got accepted, failure mitigation and restoration in independent networks using optimization-based approaches. So we have done, you know, quite a bit of work in this direction, and I believe it is important, you know, to pursue it further. So finally, I have some examples of applications to real-world systems and data sets. So I mentioned some of them before, but here probably I will briefly mention a little more, you know, application-based aspects. So this study right here, this was actually the first study of the VK network. VK is actually, you know, the largest social media portal in Europe, and we used anonymized data, you know, no personally identifiable information, but, you know, we only looked at, you know, the connectivity patterns, you know, of nodes in this network, yeah, without any, you know, personally identifiable information of actual users of this network, right? So everything was anonymized, and we looked at it at from a multi-scale perspective. So we looked at it from individual user scale perspective and also city scale and country scale. So we tried to figure out basically, what are the global patterns of connection in this network, and also say users in which cities and which countries on aggregate probably are most centrally located in this network, all right? And yeah, I think to our knowledge, it was the first study, comprehensive study of global progress of this network, and this was joint work with my colleagues at the University of Jyväskylä in Finland and also at sunny Buffalo, and it has been published in IEEE Access recently. So another internet application is network of materials. So there has been so-called materials genome initiative, which was actually proposed, several years ago already. And this was, what initially motivated us, to do this work. And basically, what we did, we represent a set of known materials as a network according to their similar physical properties based on some physics-based metrics, such as, for example, density of state function. And we discovered some interesting structure of this network, such as, for example, the small world structure, which is surprisingly similar to social networks, all right? And this work has been published recently in this journal, American Institute of Chemical Engineers, and basically this is another interesting application of networks. And last but not least, I also have a recent paper on critical nodes in river networks, which was actually done with Arvind Singh here at UCF Department of Civil Engineering. And in this paper, we looked at the networks, both real and synthetic networks of waterways, the rivers, basically. And we found some interesting patterns, both in terms of global connectivity of such networks, and also how critical nodes are incorporated into these networks. So this hopefully allows, will allow to better understand the resilience and vulnerability of this important class of networks. So yeah, basically this is not an exhaustive list of applications that I'm working on, using network-based models, but I think it's a good representative sample of such applications. And this concludes my talk. I would like to acknowledge the support, partial support by Air Force Research Lab and also NSF. I'm open to collaborations with different, disciplines, not just within my discipline, but interdisciplinary collaboration as well. So please feel free to email me if you're interested in potential collaboration. So I appreciate the attention. Thank you, and I'm open to